Well, back home, India's top court has refused to put a stay on the sale of firecrackers, but with a condition that the firecrackers won't be sold online. In their plea, the petitioners had sought a clean and healthy environment, contending that the right to breathe clean air is an essential part of growth and development as well. And the top court allowed the use of safer firecrackers from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Diwali next month, when fireworks add to toxic smog in Delhi, the world's most polluted city, according to the WHO report. In Delhi, crackers will be allowed only in designated spots which need to be identified within a week. The judges said only licensed traders can sell firecrackers, and that too safer ones with reduced emission and permitted chemicals. The judges said, and the crackers cannot be sold online, as we said, and if they are, such e-commerce sites will be hauled up for contempt. The police officers in charge of an area will have to be responsible for any violation of the new rules. For now, no cracker companies, of course, comply to the court's description. And joining us to talk a little bit more about the Supreme Court's firecracker order is Vimlendu Jha, environmentalist. Vimlendu, thanks very much for talking to us. Your thoughts on the Supreme Court's order? Do you think it does enough to stop pollution in Delhi and other areas?
You know, I think the kind of situation that our country is facing right now, the public health emergency that the entire country in general and our cities and Delhi NCR is facing, I expected Supreme Court to take cognizance of every data, every scientific and empirical evidence that it had at its disposal, and put an absolute blanket ban on firecrackers, because we are actually talking about over 1 million people who are dying prematurely because of air pollution issues. We have Central Pollution Control Board data from last year which says that PM 2.5 levels on the day of Diwali had actually crossed 29 times permissible limits. When we had all of those evidences, I think to bring in the logic of right to livelihood and right to faith, I somewhere feel a little disappointed. But at the same time, in the spirit of respecting Supreme Court and its judgment, what Supreme Court says very, very clearly is that there is a 22-hour ban on blasting of firecrackers. You can only blast firecrackers for 2 hours. What Supreme Court very interestingly also says that all the traditional polluting firecrackers, firecrackers like rocket and bomb and everything else that we've been using, all of that has been banned completely, both manufacturing and sale of it, and of course the use of it also has been put to stop in that sense. And there will be something called a green firecracker that will be allowed. People like myself are a little surprised, and we do not really know what does a green cracker mean, because there's nothing called a non-polluting firecracker. It will be interesting for us to really see in the coming days whether the Delhi police or the local governments and the central government is able to follow the diktat or the order of the Supreme Court, which says, oh, well, you can't really blast firecrackers at all.
Yeah, my point is that we are very close to Diwali season now. My second question, of course, being how will we sort of ensure that people are actually adhering to the court's rules, that this happens only in designated spots, that people only burn firecrackers between 8 to 10? I mean, in a city as big as this, you know, how do we ensure that it actually happens?
It's very difficult because, you know, we're actually soliciting individual responsible behavior. We had a ban last year as well. Supreme Court had actually put a ban on sale of firecrackers, but we still had people blasting firecrackers. So, you know, ideally, citizens should think about their own health, their own breath, because every second child is asthmatic here. You know, old traditions need to stop if we can't afford to do it, because we can't afford to really breathe bad air. I think governments also need to really step up their act, because all this while we were depending on the judiciary to do governance. Now the judiciary has actually told the government, both legislature and the executive, to be responsible and come back and do the needful. So it will be interesting to see whether this could actually be implemented on ground. And by the way, this is not an anti-Diwali or a one-day firecracker ban. We're talking about, Supreme Court clearly has made this rule for 365 days. We're talking about a firecracker regime. We're talking about air quality regime in a way where at least 4 to 5% of overall air pollution is because of firecrackers.
But Vimlendu, very briefly, we're running out of time completely. But, you know, what we are picking up is that no firecracker company actually fits the court's description. of a green cracker, and with 2 weeks or less left, I mean,
Absolutely.
who's going to comply?
Absolutely.
How are they going to comply to it? Vimlendu.
Therefore, that's what. Ideally, we don't even need Supreme Court. Ideally, we should not even need Supreme Court to tell us that please do not pollute. Imagine when I'm telling you, 80 people die every day in Delhi because of respiratory issues. And if that's the situation, we should think about it ourselves rather than to be told by the court. And as you rightly said, the fact that there's no green padaka, green crackers, firecrackers, we should not have anything. We should ideally have no firecrackers burst at all this season. Hope some sanity prevails, some kind of an accountability, responsibility in our government and our citizenry prevails this time.
Right, Vimlendu, thanks very much indeed for joining us with that. We certainly hope that citizens of this country do adhere to safer firecrackers this Diwali.